artillery lined up by the two sides will play a crucial role. Experts say Iraq has deployed a number of guns with a greater range than anything that the Allies have. But American commandos believe that as much as a third of Saddam's artillery capability has already been destroyed.
As dusk fell on the 23rd of October 1942, 1,000 guns of the 8th Army near El Alamein prepared for the greatest bombardment the world had ever seen. Artillery fire is the greatest single killer in war. It caused 70% of the casualties of World War II. And now the big guns have fired for the first time in anger in the Gulf Theatre. These guns are 30 years old. They may look old-fashioned, but artillery will still be crucial in any ground war. The Allies have over 1,600 artillery pieces in the Gulf Theatre. Iraq started the war with a numerical superiority, perhaps as many as 3,500 pieces. Most of the Allied weapons are M109 155mm self-propelled guns, with a range of 11 miles and a warhead of 100 pounds. They also have the M110, with a longer range of 13 miles and heavier shells. The standard Iraqi gun is the G5 155mm, with a huge range of 25 miles. The Republican Guards also have the more modern 2S3 self-propelled howitzer with a range of 11 miles. Perhaps the crucial weapon could be the MLRS rocket launcher, which can fire a dozen rockets over a distance of 20 miles. MLRS fires those 12 rockets in a ripple lasting only 90 seconds. It can re-aim while firing. Each rocket contains over 600 bomblets. This is the effect of a salvo. 8,000 anti-personnel bomblets scattered over an area as big as 10 football pitches. It's a much deadlier weapon than its Iraqi equivalents. Nevertheless, Iraqi artillery has been used in battle before, in the 8-year war against the Iranians. And this gun, the G5, although not mobile, is widely thought to be the best artillery piece in the world. Saddam Hussein has deliberately chosen to invest in artillery rather than other weapons. His rockets and guns will be no pushover for the Allies.
If and when the Allied ground assault begins, multinational forces will face Iraqi defences similar to those faced by the Israeli army in previous wars. Israeli generals say the need for troops and hardware to be mobile is paramount when fighting a desert war. This report from Dean Reynolds of ABC News.
The Israelis have faced the kind of defense Iraq has set up in Kuwait in the 1967 and 73 wars against Egyptian armies schooled by the Soviet military, the same one that taught Iraq. That Soviet defensive model involves deeply entrenched, heavily fortified lines. And the U.S. military plans reportedly call for using the techniques Israel has successfully employed, not to go head-to-head, but around.
To get into the rear by outflanking the enemy, to upset his command system, to take his command post, and thereby to undercut his morale.
In the 1967 Sinai Desert Campaign, the Israelis distracted their Egyptian enemies at one or two spots and drove around them before they could recover.
Wherever you can or whenever you can make it on the flank, better to do on the flanking idea.
But Israeli military sources say they are worried that U.S. divisions in Saudi Arabia may be too large and cumbersome to maneuver quickly, that they sacrifice speed for firepower. And Israeli commanders argue for patience. There is no reason, they say, to hurry the ground war until the Allies are certain the aerial bombardment has done its job, battering the Iraqis so much that Allied flanking maneuvers would face less resistance and, say the Israelis, fewer casualties.
More Iraqi troops to surrender.
At an isolated observation post on the desert front, U.S. Marines undertake a different sort of warfare. From the shelter of giant defensive sand walls right on the border, they bombard the Iraqis not with rockets, but with rock music. Psychological operations aimed at sapping Iraqi morale. The Marines are so close they don't need image intensifiers to see Iraq's tanks as they blast out messages in Arabic. You've suffered enough under Saddam Hussein. Give yourselves up to the American forces.
We know we've hurt him some. We know we've destroyed a lot of his heavy weapons. We've had some prisoners come across who have indicated morale is low. Nonetheless, we're not letting our guard down. We're preparing for the worst and hoping for the best.
In this no man's land littered with the debris of nightly shelling exchanges and the memories of normal life, the Marines keep a lonely vigil.
The nights here are long. Me, myself, personally, I dread when the nighttime comes, and I pray for the sun to come back up, because the nights get kind of eerie. You don't know what to expect, and everything's a little bit more difficult to do at night.
In the shadow of the defensive dunes, Marines wait for the order to advance. When it comes, combat engineers will carve gateways in these sand walls, allowing tanks and troops to surge into the attack. Jeremy Thompson, ITN in Saudi Arabia.